The technological singularity is basically a point in time when the speed of growth of artificial intelligence overtakes the speed of growth of biological intelligence or human intelligence in this particular case. If an artificial intelligence is built which passes what's called the Turing test. The Turing test was a test to determine whether or not an artificial intelligence had become truly human-like or not. If you are speaking with an artificial intelligence, do you know, can you sense, can you feel whether or not you're speaking to a human being? Singularity is basically the point in time when that level of intelligence, so the level of intelligence predicted by the Turing test, is realized in completely artificial way. Theoretically, such an intelligence could reproduce itself in microseconds. So from that point on, artificial intelligence just goes like this, and human intelligence still going like this. Cataclysmic event. You had pre-humans, so on the Darwinian scale, quadrupeds, like this. Now you have human beings, and then you have post-humans, a combination of artificial intelligence and human intelligence. Well, people already have artificial hearts and artificial limbs and so on. Various people have given various dates as to when the singularity will happen. Many people say it will never happen because they say that recreating the human brain is something that no artificial intelligence will ever be able to do, or that its effect will be so staggered that it will not feel like an event horizon. I think it's more like in the 2050s than the 2020s to 2030s. I think it will come, but it won't come all at once. It will come gradually. But if you look back afterwards at that gradual happening, and you look at it from a macro perspective, where a decade is like this, it will seem like one event.
What we have tried to do is we recognise, in our business at least, we recognise that selling internet capacity or selling minutes of traffic, minutes of voice traffic or text messages is a commoditising business. It's price wars all the time. We're still making very good profits because the entry barriers are high. The entry barriers are coming down. It's becoming suicidal to focus only on our core telecommunications products. But we try to understand the reasons why people consume minutes of traffic and text messages. And I was speaking to somebody outside. I said it would be like Coca-Cola not focusing on the drink, but focusing on why people get thirsty, or trying to create ways that people get thirsty.
Your question about the consumer, does he have to be creative? I think for uncreative consumers, or consumers who haven't really thought about what's available or what could be cool, it's even better. Most of the marketing industry has been built on the premise that you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 variations of something, and that's it. But if you have consumers who are being recommended things that are so rare that they would never be on a shop shelf, you could never go to a physical shop and buy them because they occupy place number 3,122,000 in the bestseller lists, but they've been sent directly to you, then you become much more demanding in terms of what you want. So it's just a question of making the choice easier and more accurate for the consumer, because that actually is more profitable for the other side. They're not giving discounts to people who don't need the discounts. They can forecast how many dog food packages they need in the shop because they've thought about the customers. So they don't have dog food that they have to sell at a discount at the end of the week. It works for everybody. I mean, it reduces friction.
We had a meeting in MTS about a year ago, and there was a big discussion going on about whether MTS as a mobile operator should get into the music business. And the discussion seemed to be going in the way that yes, MTS should enter the music business with its own brand. And I asked the question, I said, how many people in the room know the difference between an SMS and an MMS? And of course everybody put up their hand. I said, okay, how many people in the room understand the difference between deep house and electric trance? And nobody in the room knew the difference. I said, well, if we don't know the difference between deep house and electric trance, then I don't think it's a good idea for us to get into the music business.
Crisis, right? This so-called crisis. You can see that the companies in this crisis who have learned to talk, even at a very primitive and imprecise level, to the segment of one customer, are doing very well in the crisis. And the companies that have not learned to do that are not doing well.
I drive down Prospect Mira in Moscow in December, and they have these huge banners across the roadway that say 2009 Jaguar for sale, 20% discount. Why is the Jaguar for sale at 20% discount? Because it's a colour that nobody wants. Why do they make the colour that nobody wants? Because they messed up on the forecasting. Would it not be better if they were able to build a car quickly that never needs to be on a sale price, because it's right down to the last detail exactly what you wanted? The consumer is happier, the manufacturer is happier, everybody is happier.
And the retailers that can understand or even forecast what you might like are going to take away a lot of the work from the consumer to try to himself forecast what he likes or doesn't like. And if in your example the consumer doesn't want to bother to forecast about what he likes or doesn't like, it's amazing. Now, I do bother to forecast in music what I like and don't like, and I know quite a lot about music. And I was still amazed at some of the stuff that came through. I would have had no interest in it whatsoever, and I started to listen to it and I got hooked. And understanding that you see that you become a person whose tastes and interests are actually maybe quite different from other people's. You're not as much of a standard or person as you thought. It will drive a whole new generation of consumer thinking that says, I'm different. There's something very powerful in there. So I think for the very advanced consumer, the person who's already been to Rome and Paris and knows themselves very well and talks to themselves a lot, even for those people it can throw up amazing things. For the lazy consumer or the uncreative, whatever you want to call him, it's a revolution. And that's something you can see today already, for sure.
A guy comes up to your apartment in Moscow, presses the doorbell downstairs on the apartment. You're in South Africa. You're not home. He's a burglar. He wants to see if anybody's home. What it does is it takes the doorbell press, converts it into a mobile call, sends it down to me in South Africa, and I can answer. And for the guy doesn't know whether I'm in the apartment or not. If he's a legitimate visitor, I can allow him into the apartment. I can see on the camera, a very cheap camera, but still enough to see if somebody's there or not, if he's in the apartment, like a tradesman or whatever. And I can make sure the door is locked. I can reset the alarms when he goes out. I can do that all from South Africa.
Time travel. Like the crazy thing's already been done. They put up an SR-71, an American very, very high-speed jet aircraft, and they put an atomic clock on it. And they put another atomic clock on the ground. And they measured the passage of time on board the aircraft versus the passage of time on board the ground. And they found that time had slowed down on the aircraft. So the first, but that's already happened. I mean, there's a measurable time travel has taken place. Does that mean people will do time travel? Maybe, maybe not. But it's happened. There's a lot of progress going on in all these areas at the same time. The networks are getting faster. The ability of brain scanning to be non-invasive is getting more sophisticated. The range of thoughts and emotions that we cover are getting wider. The devices are getting smaller. The communication network is getting cheaper and more powerful. I mean, it's all happening at the same time. So for me, things like that become more a question of when than if. And should it become a tradition? I think it's good any forum that allows people to meet outside their home country. We're in Switzerland at the moment. Interact with lots of other nationalities as we see here, and discuss things that are of very high importance, both morally and economically, and from pretty much any perspective. I think that's a good thing to do. But if I wanted to make this a really unique event, I would make it something that has more attraction to people who are outside this narrow sphere of communication. So I wouldn't call it communication on top, I would call it communication on the bottom, because the communication is an enabler that allows all the better stuff to happen.